Hi everyone, my name is Shanice Bishop and I will be sharing with you my research on Gabrielle CoCo Chanel. I hope you enjoy it. Coco Chanel is a famous French designer who began designing in the early 1900s and continued designing until the day of her death in 1971 when she was just 87 years old. In the time period between the two world wars, the French designers were still who the world looked for fashion inspiration. And in the French couture culture of the 1920s, the one name that stood out above the rest was Gabrielle Coco Chanel. The French couture maintained its position as the arbiter of style in clothing for women from 1920 until the German occupation during World War II cut Paris off from contact from the rest of the world. Chanel took her inspiration from the world around her and she designed looser and more comfortable fitting women's garments designed for a body in motion. The story of Coco Chanel's life starts out rather tragically. Her mother died at a young age of 12, and her father took her to an orphanage to live. It is so amazing to me that this little girl raised in an orphan turned the world of fashion upside down. She was born on Gabrielle Behar Chanel in 1983. This is the same year the first electrical lighting system invented by Thomas Edison using overhead wires began service in the U.S. She stayed at the orphanage until she was 18. The one good thing that came out of her 6 year stay at the orphanage was that she learned how to sew. Upon leaving the orphanage, she got a job as a tailor and spent her nights singing in a local cabaret. It was at this time that Gabrielle acquired the name Coco. Many people think it was because she was often asked to sing a song called Who Has Seen Coco? Chanel met a young French ex-cavalry officer in textile air in 1910. He sets her up with her own hat making business in Paris. In 1913, with the help of yet another boyfriend, a wealthy member of the English upper class, she opens up her first clothing boutique where she begins to sell her own fashion designs. Her first taste of clothing success came from a dress she fashioned out of an old jersey on a chilly day. In response to the many people who asked about where she got the dress, she would respond, "My fortune is built on that old jersey that I put on because it was cold in Deauville." It is during this time her fashion is having its greatest success with her little black dress and her woman's suit, as well as the perfume she markets, Chanel number 5. Chanel's fashion designs begin to open up a whole new world for her. Chanel became a popular figure in Parisian literary and artistic worlds. She designed costumes for the ballet and theater and was friends with many playwrights, authors, artists, and other wealthy and influential members of the upper class French society. Through her associations with members of the French elite, she also began to meet members in the highest levels of British, such as Winston Churchill, Edward Prince of Wales, and one of the richest men in the world at the time, Duke of Westminster. The Duke lavished Chanel with extravagant jewels, costly art, and a home in one of London's most prestigious districts. At the beginning of World War II in 1939, Chanel closed her shops, maintaining her apartment situated above the couture house. She said that it was not a time for fashion. As a result of her action, 4,000 female employees lost their jobs. During the German occupation, Chanel moved into the Hotel Ritz, the residence for most of the upper echelon Germany military staff in the city. She began a romance with a high-ranking German diplomat in Paris. After the war, her return to Paris fashion was not well received, as many viewed her as a traitor to her country, and some even thought she had been a spy for the Germans. Her first post-war collection was not yet received by the critics who called her style old-fashioned and boring, but it did prove to be immensely popular with the general public and it became a huge hit in the United States. Many Hollywood stars, including Audrey Hepburn, Grace Kelly, fell in love with her effortlessly stylish suits. Chanel's feminine and easy-fitting designs soon again won over the shoppers around the world. Rich and famous women once again adopted the Chanel look, and by this time, she had shown her lasting influence on the fashion industry. In January of 1971, Chanel began her year planning out her spring catalog. On the afternoon of Saturday, January 9th, she had gone for a long drive. Upon her return to the Hotel Ritz, she went to bed early, feeling ill. She died sometime the next morning of a heart attack. Her funeral was attended by many of her fashion models who occupied the first several rows of the church. Her coffin was covered with white flowers, camellias, gardenias, orchids, azaleas, and a few red roses. At the time of her death, Chanel was worth a reported 15 billion, which was inherited by her nephew. In 1999, when Time magazine published a list of the 100 most influential people of the 20th century, Chanel was the only fashion designer on the list. They wrote, Coco Chanel revolutionized women's fashion in the early 20th century when she introduced a looser, more comfortable silhouette that freed women from the corsets and frills that had dominated the apparel industry. Chanel's most famous and iconic piece is beyond doubt her little black dress. This dress will become even more famous in the future when an American movie actress by the name of Audrey Hepburn wears a little black dress in the romantic comedy Breakfast at Tiffany's in 1961. Although the dress in the movie was designed by Givenchy, not Chanel. The little black dress was released in the Great Depression era, where simple and affordable was key. This simple black dress became the outfit of choice, as you can be elegant without breaking the bank. Years later, in 1944, Vogue magazine will write 10 out of 10 women have one, but 10 out of 10 women want another because a little black dress leads to the best rounded life. In 1921, Chanel introduced the now legendary Chanel suit with collarless jacket and a well-fitted skirt. By today's standards, the wool set was simple, a boxy jacket in tweed with braid trim, 4 pockets, and no darts worn with a mid-length straight skirt. But in this day, it was nothing short of revolutionary. Without shoulder pads, tightly cut sleeves, high collars, or a constricting skirt, the ensemble provided women a full range of motion, allowing them to go about city life unconstructed by their clothing. Her designs were revolutionary for the time, borrowing elements of menswear and emphasizing comfort over the constraints of then popular fashions. She designed looser and more comfortable fitting women's garments designed for a body in motion. Before this time, women wearing a suit was unheard of. The suit was using a collarless jacket and a well fitting skirt, showing how women could dress properly but at the same time to do business. Chanel didn't stop there. She also went on to introduce pants to women's clothing, yet again opening up a new world of fashion to half of Earth's population that was otherwise reserved for men. Faithful to her maxim, luxury must be comfortable, otherwise, it is not luxury. During the war, women were obliged to wear trousers while they were working in traditionally male jobs. Coco Chanel didn't wear them as a fashion item in the first place either. It was her way to cover herself. She wore the sailor's pants at the Society Beach Resort of Deauville as an act of modesty. Due to this, the style quickly spread as many fans tried to copy her style, and in the end, she regretted how careless she was by wearing them. Chanel was quoted as saying, Women think of all colors except the absence of color. I have said that black has its all, white too. Their beauty is absolute. It is the perfect harmony. Beige was another simple color she used. Beige is a warm, simple, and natural color that acts as a counterpoint to white and black, adding neutrally and a heightened sense of elegance. Excuse me. But her biggest visual comes from the use of black. After the end of World War I, wearing black clothes was a symbol of mourning, as many war widows wore black for over a year. During the Industrial Revolution, black clothing was considered clothing of the working man to hide the soot and grime from the coal being used to power the manufacturing plants. Considering all of this, Chanel's choice of the color black was a very risky and bold move. She redefined the color black as something chic and elegant, much like in the days of Queen Elizabeth, who had passed laws reserving the color black for the exclusive use of the highest nobility in the land. She took a color reserved for the common working class people and made them feel as royal as Queen Elizabeth herself, making the common woman feel like wearing black made her a queen. Entrepreneur magazine described Chanel target customers as princesses and duchesses that she dressed as secretaries and office workers in fake pearls, trench coats, simple knits, turtleneck sweaters, and little black dresses. She thumbed her nose at the haute couture styles of the 19th century, and Chanel freed women from the suffocating clutches of corsets and bustles and created a fashion revolution that would influence every designer that came after her. Coco Chanel managed to convince the women in her era that style and quality should be parts of their daily lifestyle. Chanel sold its fashion through exclusive showrooms that are called Chanel Boutique. There are more than 300 Chanel boutiques across the globe. In the US, there are several Chanel boutiques listed on their website, mainly in larger cities like New York and LA, or inside high retail stores like Neiman Marcus. But Chanel does not sell any of its fashion products online. The president of the company explained in a 2012 interview, "You need to be in the fitting room. You need to have a tailor who alters the clothes to fit exactly to your body. I think it's part of Chanel. It's more than just our service. It's part of our differentiation to have a ready to wear that is perfect for our customers." The following slides is where I got all my information to put this presentation together. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day.